Today we're talking toilet training in toddlers with Jo Ryan, who's a parent consultant from Babybliss. So Jo, what do you do to move your child from the transition of nappies to undies and toilets and so forth?
Well, it is quite a stressful time for parents, and they do get a little bit anxious about teaching a child or toilet training. I think the best thing is to let your child set the pace. Don't rush them. So when your child starts informing you of what's going on, like, "Mummy, I've just done a wee," or "I need to do a wee," or whatever, then that's a good time to maybe start. I think the best thing is to just take the nappy off. You know, if you're at home, obviously, just take the nappy off during the day and put them in a pair of undies. I think that's a really good way to start, because often children don't like the feeling of wet undies on their skin. It's uncomfortable, and so they will start, the thought process will kick in quite quickly, and they'll start telling you before they wet themselves that they actually need to do a wee. The idea of putting them in pull-ups can work, but I think often then you get stuck with the pull-ups and you don't sort of get out of that stage. And because pull-ups are essentially like a nappy, it doesn't make them feel wet. So I think it's best to just try and transition from the nappy to the underpants quite quickly. At night, obviously, toilet training takes a little bit longer, and it's okay to keep your children in nappies until they're a little bit older, just at night. But then when you want to do that, if your child has had a couple of dry nights, so you get them up in the morning and their nappy's dry, then maybe you could try them at night without the nappy. But it's probably worth putting them on the toilet just before you go to bed, so you don't have to wake them up. Often you just pick the child up out of bed, pop them on the toilet, let them do a wee, which they do often in their sleep, or half asleep, and then put them back to bed. And then after a couple of months of doing that, you can stop doing that if you feel confident that they're not going to wet the bed.
And what about coping with bed wetting?
Bed wetting can be a problem. If it's just a transitional thing from, when they're sort of learning to be toilet trained, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. There are things you can do to deal with it, like put a plastic mattress on under your sheet so that you're not constantly worried about the mattress. Putting them on the toilet before you go to bed, and then first thing in the morning when they get up, remind them to go to the toilet straight away. Things like that. Obviously, if the child's a little bit older and they're still bedwetting, then that's another issue altogether that you need to look at. And that'd be worth discussing with your doctor.
Well, thanks for that, Jo. If you'd like to ask Jo any more questions, you can contact her on the email address below.